Hi guys, today we are going to talk about the United Nations and the World Trade Organization. Last week we talked about trading and how important it is. Today we're going to get into two organizations that really promote good relationships between countries and trade. So the United Nations, we call it the UN for short. It's an organization that supports countries living peacefully with one another. They also want it to coexist, to work together, to make our world a better place. It sounds great in theory, but the UN really struggles sometimes to create meaningful change. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they don't create change? It's going to be because there's so many nations and countries that it's hard to get them all to agree. It was formed after World War II in 1945 because the world was so divided. We decided that we needed to. So they made that United Nations because after World War II, they wanted to bring the world together after so much division. It is headquartered in New York City, so it is in the U.S. It does have a constitution. They call it a charter, but it's a constitution where they outline what they want to do, what their goals are. Their four main purposes are to maintain international peace and security, to develop friendly relations among nations, to cooperate in solving international problems, in promoting respect for human rights. So human rights is a big goal of theirs as well. And to be the center for harmonizing the actions of nations, so getting everyone to work together as a group. They are known for peacekeeping. They have something called peacekeepers, which are kind of like their military or their police that are from several countries around the world, and they go to areas that are in conflict to prevent violence. They also are very big on preventing conflicts. They try to influence violent nations and people into becoming peaceful, or at least kind of talk or get people together to talk about the possibility of peace. And then they're also all about promoting human rights, which kind of starts with improving the access to basic human rights like food, water, shelter, medical care. The UN, when we read A Long Walk to Water earlier this year, and we really talked about water, obviously that's a big one, but also like refugee camps and getting people to safety, things like that, the UN definitely helps with. They also help with disaster relief. They work for environmental protection. They promote anti-terrorism. And then there are many organizations that support the same goals that actually then work together with the UN or are linked to it. There are 6 main divisions. There's the General Assembly. Oh my goodness. There's 193 members. There's the General Assembly. This is just the assembly of all the member states. Each country has one vote and one representative. There's a Security Council. They're obviously responsible for international peace and security. They are the most powerful. They have those peacekeepers. The International Court of Justice. This decides disputes between the countries or states that recognize its jurisdiction, and they create legal opinions. They have 15 judges that are elected by the UN General Assembly. They have 9-year terms, and they make the judgments with a majority. So whatever gets 5 out of the 4 votes. The other 3, first we have the Economic and Social Council. They are responsible for cooperation on economic and social fields. So they're raising the general standard of living. So they solve economic problems, social health problems. They promote human rights. Then culture, education, and humanitarian aid, which would be just like helping needy people. The Trustee Council, this was originally designed to manage colonial possessions. So think of when England had colonies all over the world, like in the U.S. The Trusteeship Council would help with that, They were earlier called the League of Nations mandates, but it is no longer active since there is not really any colonial possessions anymore. And then they have the Secretariat, which supports the other UN bodies administratively in organization of conferences, writing reports and studies, and preparation of the budget plan. Next, we also have the World Trade Organization. It supports the other UN bodies administratively. It helps, in the organization of conferences. They write reports and studies, and they prepare the budget plan. It was established in 1995 and it sets rules for international trade. That's the big thing that you need to know about the WTO. It sets rules for international trade. The whole goal is to trade freely between nations with the least amount of conflict. The WTO, they make agreements between nations. They negotiate with the world's trading nations. They set rules and sign documents. They reduce tariffs, which are, remember that, export and import tax. They help producers of goods, services, exporters and importers conduct their business. They really just promote trade, guys, between different countries and nations. They work to prevent the spread of disease, too. Okay, so it's all about the safety of trade, okay, and to protect the environment. Go ahead and do your show it. If you have any questions, please let me know.